Presenting our opening address this morning is Mr. Michael G. Whitaker, the Deputy Administrator for the Federal Aviation Administration and Chief NextGen Officer. Mr. Whitaker was sworn into office in June of 2013, and he is responsible for helping to ensure the safe and efficient operations of the largest aerospace system in the world. As Chief NextGen Officer, he is responsible for the development and implementation of the FAA's Next Generation Air Transportation System. Before joining the FAA, he served as a board member and business development consultant, as well as a group chief executive officer for Interglobe Enterprises from 2009 to 2012. From 1994 to 2009, Mr. Whitaker served at United Airlines as Senior Vice President for Alliance, International, and Regulatory Affairs. Prior to that, he served at Trans World Airlines as Assistant General Counsel for Regulatory and International Affairs. He received a bachelor's degree from the University of Louisville and a Juris Doctor from the Georgetown University Law Center. Ladies and gentlemen, AEA membership, please help me welcome FAA's Deputy Administrator, Mr. Michael Whitaker.
I get my own music? Thank you, Paula, and congratulations to the award winners, Joe, Gary, Ricky, L3, and thank you, Paula, for not finding a long-haired high school picture of me to put up there. So, good morning, everybody. I usually begin my remarks by explaining what NextGen is, and most of the audiences I speak to don't have much of an in-depth understanding of NextGen, but it occurred to me this morning that I'm speaking to an extremely knowledgeable audience. I usually try to simplify NextGen and talk about how we're upgrading three key things that we do in the NAS. Navigation, going from ground-based navigation systems to GPS, communication, going from voice to data, and surveillance, going from radar to ADS-B and satellite-based system. But I know that most of you are deeply involved in a lot of very technical aspects of NextGen, and you're right in the middle of installing and selling some of the key components of NextGen. You've probably been installing nav systems, GPS systems for years, and more recently installing those things that hold iPads on yokes so people can have their iPad and their receiver and achieve synthetic vision in their Cessna 172, which is important. Communication, you're familiar with data link, you're familiar with datacom, and I know you're all very familiar with ADS-B, and you're going to be spending a lot of the next couple days talking about ADS-B. So that makes my job easier this morning, and what I want to do is really just talk about three things relating to NextGen. One, I want to just give you a brief update on what we're doing in NextGen, what kind of progress we have made in NextGen. Two, talk about what I think is the key for success of NextGen and how you're part of that. And then three, talk about how you can help. I've come with an ask. So first, let's talk about how we're doing with NextGen. And I think the answer is better than you think. I like to point out that NextGen was designed as a 20-year, $20 billion endeavor. So it's quite a long-term project, and it actually began its funding in 2009, which means we're 6 years into this long road. 6 years and $6 billion into what is a 20-year project. The first phase of NextGen has very much been focused on updating the basic technology that we operate in our airspace. So updating the computers and the screens and the training and the software in all of our en route centers, in all of our TRACONs and towers, building the infrastructure for ADS-B, And if you look at the last 6 years, we've had quite a bit of success in that area. Just last month, we completed a program called ERAM, which updates all of our 20 en route centers. That has been done. The old system has been retired, so we now have the new technology in all of our centers that allows us to bring in ADS-B feed and allows us to have a much greater flexibility in managing airspace. Last fall, we completed the complete installation of the ADS-B ground transceivers. So the infrastructure that is necessary to operate the system has been installed well in advance of the 2020 deadline. So if you look at the three elements of NextGen, navigation, communication, and surveillance, we're moving down the road pretty quickly in all three of these areas. For navigation, we have over half of the routes now in the system are GPS routes. We're focused on programs that we call Metroplex, which I'll talk about in a moment, where we build all new PBN routes into congested airspace in Houston, in North Texas, DC, Atlanta, Charlotte, Miami. So that system is well underway. In communication, we have equipped 1,900 aircraft of the major airlines, and they're now testing departure clearances at Memphis and Newark. This Datacom program is hugely popular with the airlines and has quite a bit of support. We also have a program called SWIM, System-Wide Information Management, that has 60 different information products that pushes out to the users, and that number is going to double over the next year. And then, of course, in surveillance, we're making a lot of progress on ADS-B, and I want to talk a little bit more about ADS-B. Now that we have the ground installations finished, we're very much focused on the equipage issue. So the second point I want to talk about is what is the key to making NextGen work? And it's important, and I know that you recognize this, it is a very, very complex undertaking. It's not like building a highway and then when you're finished you take your tools home and then people can use the highway. It's a very coordinated, complex set of actions where everybody has a role, everybody has a part in this endeavor. The FAA, the controllers, the pilots, the airlines, manufacturers, general aviation, avionics shops, and everybody has to do their part to bring this very complex thing together. And that's really the uniqueness of NextGen, is that level of complexity that you don't find with most types of undertakings of this nature. And needless to say, it has to be executed extremely well. We don't beta test our products. Everything has to meet our level of safety before it can be rolled out. How we do this is, of course, we start with an incredibly detailed implementation plan. Inside the building, we call it the NGIP, the NextGen Implementation Plan. You can find it online. It's about 900 pages, and if you have problems with insomnia, I highly recommend it. But it gives you a very detailed roadmap of how to implement and how these pieces need to come together. But I'll use the Metroplex just as an example. Last year in Houston, we redesigned the entire airspace around Houston, and we switched over overnight from the old system of procedures and routes to the new system. It was 61 new procedures, and it involved very intensive working between FAA's operations, FAA safety people, the airlines that operate in that airspace, the pilots, the air traffic controllers, and it was a very successful overnight changeover. The new, more efficient routings are resulting in over $6 million a year in annual fuel savings. And it's that kind of collaboration that is really the key to making NextGen work. When you're dealing with this level of complexity, collaboration is the only way to work through those complex issues and implement this new technology in an effective way. And we have seen from previous endeavors, when you collaborate, it works. When you don't collaborate, it's going to fail. So the best tool for managing complexity for us is collaboration, and we do that in a number of key ways. One is our collaboration with our air traffic controllers. These are the folks that have to use the new procedures and the new technologies. They're involved from day one when it comes to developing new procedures, testing new technologies in laboratory settings before they get rolled out into the system. We collaborate extensively with the industry through an organization called the NextGen Advisory Committee. Many of you in this room have representatives on that committee, and that is representatives from pilots, controllers, manufacturers of aircraft, avionics manufacturers, airports, airlines, and we all work together. It's chaired by the chairman of Delta Airlines, and we work together to agree on what are the important next-gen technologies, how are they going to roll out, what are the time frames, and what kind of participation do we need from industry to make this work. And then finally, collaboration with you. And that takes the form most recently in a group called Equip 2020. And Equip 2020 really rose out of a conversation that Paula and I had last fall with Rick Perry, your Rick Perry, not the Texas Rick Perry, to talk about how we can ensure that we stay on track for this 2020 deadline. And as we look at the complexity of NextGen and as we look at the schedule of rollout of new technologies, keeping that 2020 deadline in place is absolutely imperative. And it's in everybody's interest to keep it in place. And those who have already equipped are particularly keen to make sure everybody else equips so they're able to enjoy the benefits of the new technology. And in order to keep NextGen on track, to keep on track on that 20-year path that we're on, it's very important that we keep that date. So we pulled together an industry group, over 100 representatives, again, many of the companies that are here today, and spent a day in October identifying what are the big issues we have to handle, and then setting up work groups to meet regularly to tackle those issues. And I think there were a couple of dozen issues identified, issues on how we do business, things that we need to do better, issues around certification, issues around standards for large carriers, and it's been a hugely successful endeavor. We know now that the major airlines are all going to meet that date. There was a lot of discussion around, and concern around price of GA equipage. When we began this endeavor, the cost of ADS-B out equipage for GA was over $4,000 per unit, and just in the time that we've been meeting as a group, that price has been cut to less than $2,000. So significant progress, but more work to be done, and we're going to continue to work in that context to make sure we meet that deadline. So this brings me to the final point, which is the ask, and that is that we have to continue to work to make sure we meet that equipage deadline by encouraging early equipage. One of the things that we clearly understand is not everybody can wait to 2019 to equip their airplanes. There has to be equipage. There's equipage going on now. That rate needs to continue to increase. And the ask is that you encourage your customers to equip now. The prices, I think, have come down to extremely competitive levels where it's unrealistic to expect it to drop much below where it is. And now we need to start getting that equipage out there. We're working through Equip 2020 to have a communication plan to the GA community. We need to let them know what the benefits are of equipage, and again reiterate that that date is not going to change, and we'll continue our outreach at places like AirVenture to encourage that equipage. But if you're a repair shop, you can play a key role here. Let pilots and operators know that the cost has come down, and let them know that this is the time to get equipped rather than competing for space as that deadline looms. It's a very attainable objective. We've made huge progress, and it's important that we really keep on track to meeting that. So thank you for inviting me and including me today. I'm really privileged to be able to stay with you this morning and see some of the new product presentations, and I'm looking forward to seeing that, and thank you for your participation, and look forward to meeting you over the next couple days. Thanks.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 58th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Dallas, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Now certified, Aspen Avionics single-band ADS-B ATX100 and ATX100G transceivers are the next-gen ADS-B solution that provides the features pilots need while keeping flyaway costs low. Check it out now at aspenavionics.com.
Avidyne provides innovative avionics solutions for general aviation aircraft, including the IFD 540 and IFD 440 FMS GPS navcoms with geofill, hybrid touch, and full ADS-B capability.
The KSN 770 is an affordable, WAS-enabled integrated MFD with a flexible hybrid user interface from Bendix King. Get your fingers on the 770's perfect blend of touchscreen and hard buttons. Easily control your GPS navigation, navcom, weather, traffic, and terrain in any condition. For more information, go to bendixking.com.
The IntelliFlight 2100 digital flight control system is the perfect complement to today's integrated flight decks and is certified on the King Air and Conquest. It will now interface to a single EFIS and a mid-continent SAM 302 unit for a low-cost complete panel upgrade. Contact us at www.genesis-aerosystems.com.
An interactive links application is available in the Apple and Android app stores. This free app is a virtual simulation of the Lynx NGT 9000 touchscreen cockpit display that lets pilots interact with the unit as if they had a real system in their hands. The app covers the entire Lynx family of ADS-B products, including features and options to help customers decide which Lynx model is right for their needs.
True Blue Power Advanced Lithium-Ion main chip batteries feature proprietary nanophosphate technology. They deliver 3 times the energy density and are more than 40% lighter than lead-acid or NiCad alternatives. RTCA tested, FAA certified, available to OEMs today. NavWorks makes ADS-B affordable. Certified or experimental, NavWorks gives you high-quality next-gen avionics solutions that dramatically increase your situational awareness. Check us out now on the web at www.navworks.com.
The debate is no longer about upgrading GA aircraft with NextGen, it's about financing it. The NextGen GA Fund is about doing just that. Find out more at www.nextgenfund.com.